Hey guys, we're gonna jump into this one pretty quick because I have a lot of cryptids to get through. Star helped me put this together. We're going to rank cryptids. We're gonna discuss their lore in the process. This is perfect. All right, we're gonna get started now. For real. And we're actually gonna get started with the one that I just clicked on, the jackalope, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with. Jackalopes are interesting little creatures because they are from North America. They are considered one of the fearsome critters in mythology as far as hybrids go. And in this case, a jackalope is a combination of a jackrabbit and an antelope, but it's completely made up. But there's more. Back in the 1930s, these two brothers decided that they were going to use... I gotta move Yeti. They were going to use their taxidermy skills to create a jackalope. But here's the thing about it. Everybody thought they were real, but they're actually very similar to a German creature. And, I'm going to butcher this one. I think it is a Wolpertinger. I probably said that just so wrong. You thought that jackalopes were real as a kid. Yeah, I totally did too. But my dad is one of these who likes to burst bubbles on things like that. And so he informed me at an early age that jackalopes were not real when I saw my first one in a restaurant stuffed. But they're super cool. You can't pronounce it either. Miss Pro, you did not really see one. But, again, the German version of them date back to woodcuts and engravings back to the 17th century. So they have been around for a while, but when people think they see a jackalope or this German version, it is possible that they are actually seeing a rabbit that has been infected with this virus that causes horn and antler-like tumors to grow in various places on the rabbit's head and body. So, you could technically see one, but it's not going to be the one from mythology or anything like that because we created that. But it came initially from somewhere, whether it's from this virus or if it is a real German thing, that I don't know. Alright, so where do we rank a jackalope? Like, where would you guys rank a jackalope in a tier of S being top tier and then all the way A, B, C, D? Which... let me tell you guys, if in school I could have gotten something above an A, I would have been that student. But what are we ranking on? All the prep work I did for this, do you think I ever once thought, what should we rank these on? Yeah, I would almost say... I like that. It is a solid... gateway one, so we're gonna put him on here with B. I like that. I'm assuming I'll be able to move these around later on. But it is fun because the jackalope itself, as we know it, the rabbit with the antlers, isn't real, but it could be based on something real. So that's fun. And then next, let's see, we have the troll. Now, Star, I know you are from Norway. Most of us watching right now are all from the US. And for me, a troll growing up was the, are they called treasure trolls? I don't actually know like the real name for them, but you know, the little naked guys with the gemstone in their belly and the crazy ass hair. Those were the trolls I was familiar with. I did see you did include some Norwegian ones, and I like that a lot. I learned some new stuff. I did see the movie, what was it, Troll or Troll Hunter? That takes place near you. I did enjoy that movie a lot. So, we all kind of have heard of trolls. If you have watched or read Lord of the Rings, and I think The Hobbit, they were in that too. Tolkien stuff kind of goes all screwy in my head. They were in there and turned to stone when the sun hit them. Very gargoyle-esque in that sense. But let's see. Here it says, most of my information, by the way, you guys, comes from Wikipedia. I do have a document that I'm going to drop on the Discord after this that everybody can see. They are Nordic, Scandinavian folklore, and Norse mythology. In Old Norse sources, trolls were beings described as dwelling in isolated areas of rocks, mountains, or caves, living together in small family unions, and are rarely helpful to human beings. In later Scandinavian folklore, trolls became beings in their own right, where they live far from human habitation, are not Christianized, and are considered dangerous to human beings. Depending on the source, their appearance varies greatly. Trolls may be ugly and slow-witted, or look and behave exactly like human beings, with no particularly grotesque features about them. Sometimes they look like us, sometimes they don't. There's no real set here, but apparently the name comes from a bunch of different things. Some of these words I can't pronounce, but you had fiend, demon, werewolf, and another word I can't pronounce. There was one, let's see, Trullian, meaning to tread or step on. And additionally, the Old Norse verb, I think it's trilla, means to enchant or to turn into a troll. The Middle High German verb, Trullian, I think, we're just going to roll with these, means to flutter. So we have a few different ways, or like meanings to the word troll. In Norse mythology, trolls is a term applied to... Okay, so this is a J with an O with the two little dots over it, a T, an N, an A, and an R. So, Jotner? I don't know. And as mentioned throughout the Old Norse stories, according to the sources, they are said to dwell in isolated mountains, rocks, caves, and sometimes live together. They are rarely described as helpful or friendly. The Prose Edda book, it is a word that it is long and there's a lot of asterisks. But this comes from an old book story. About an unnamed troll woman and the 9th century Scalad. According to this section, he was driving through a certain forest late one evening when a troll woman aggressively asked him who he was, and in the process describing herself. And there's two translations. I went with the one that had a lot less question marks in it, because I wasn't sure if the question marks were for the translation or for the sentence itself. Trolls call me Moon of Dwelling, Rungnar, Giant's Wealth Sucker, Storm's Son's Bale, Cirrus Friendly Companion, Guardian of Corpseford, Swallower of Heavenwheel. What is a troll other than that? There is much confusion and overlap in the use of Old Norse terms, most of which I cannot pronounce, other than trolls, which describe various beings. Lottie Motz theorized that these were originally 4 distinct classes of beings: Lord of Nature, mythical magicians, which were trolls, hostile monsters, and heroic and courtly beings, the last class being the youngest edition. On the other hand, Armand Jacobson is critical of Mott's interpretation and calls this theory unsupported by any convincing evidence. Armand highlights that the term is used to denote various beings such as a mountain dweller, a witch, an abnormally strong or large or ugly person, an evil spirit, a ghost, a word I can't pronounce, a magic boar, a heathen demigod, a demon, I'm going to try and pronounce this one. Is it a Bronmaji? It kind of reminds me of Bruja. Or a berserker. Which, fun fact, a lot of people don't realize this with Brujas, they are usually Christian based. So trolls in the sense of this form and the big creepies. I say big creepies. Let's see. Make sure I snaggle the right photo here. Okay. I was not going to snag the right photo. Alright. So on this one, gosh, my problem is we have so many good ones. And I really like all. If this was up to me, most of these would probably be S, but I know that's not like possible. So you're good with B? Alright. Since this comes from your neck of the woods, we're gonna default to what you think, and we're gonna go with B for troll. Our next one is Mr. Goatsucker, El Chupacabra. He is one of my favorites. Chupacabra is always going to be one of my little favorites. He looks different depending on which lore you go with. And so the original tailings of Chupacabra, he looks like this, scaly. He's got like little spikes running down his body and shit. And then you got like the canine version that just sounds like they have mange. Yeah, is he not just the coolest? He's just fun. Like, if I could adopt one, I would. Can you imagine having one during the zombie apocalypse? I feel like this would be handy, Where is our little goat sucker from? He is usually found in Puerto Rico, Mexico, and the southwestern United States, but he's also lately been found kind of all over the world, but the Americas in particular, both North and South America, Central America, that whole region, but they have started to kind of spread out. I would totally litter box train a chupacabra. You remember someone catching one on cameras many years back. You wanted to believe it, but it could have been Coyote with his tail cut off. Is that the one that made like the news circuit that everybody kind of saw, where he kind of like looks back over his shoulder while he's running? Because yeah, that one is, a lot of the dog chupacabras are thought to be coyotes with mange. The very same. Okay. Yep. The one we all, the one we have all seen. They even did an episode of Fact or Fake Paranormal Files on this particular clip, where they went to try to locate the animal, as well as recording a couple of different animals in the process to see if they, could mimic the same thing. Like I said, we have a couple of different descriptions for it. In Puerto Rico and Hispanic America, it is generally described as a heavy creature, reptilian and alien-like, roughly the size of a small bear with a row of spines reaching from the neck to the base of the tail. A different type of chupacabra was also reported in many of the same places. These chupacabras are smaller and stood on 4 feet, and they are generally canine appearance, but hairless. And so we've got that. We do know that the word is derived from the Spanish words to suck and goat, hence, chupacabra. And was it chupar and cabra? So smush them together. To suck goats. Which I feel like goat sucker just somehow sounds better than to suck goats. Initial sightings and accompanying descriptions first occurred in Puerto Rico in 1995. The creature has since been reported as far north as Maine, as far south as Chile, and even outside the Americas in countries like Russia and the Philippines. In 1975, a series of livestock killings in the small town of Moca, Puerto Rico, were attributed to El Vampiro de Moca, I think. My Spanish is atrocious for somebody whose grandmother speaks Spanish. Or the vampire of Mocha. Let's see. Initially, it was suspected that the killings were committed by a satanic cult, and later more killings were reported around the island, and many farms reported loss of animal life. Each of the animals was reported to have had its body bled dry through a series of small circular incisions. So it was initially thought to be either a cult or this vampire, but sometimes it is, people wonder if it is attributed to chupacabras. The first reported attack was actually in March of 1995. That is attributed to actual chupacabras. 8 sheep were discovered dead in Puerto Rico, so there you go, not just goats, each with 3 puncture wounds in the chest area and reportedly completely drained of blood. A few months later in August, an eyewitness named Madeline Tolentino reported seeing the creature in the Puerto Rican town Canovanas, where as many as 150 farm animals and pets were reportedly killed. Silvertino Perez was credited with coining the term chupacabras soon after the first incidents were reported to the press. Shortly after the first reported incidences in Puerto Rico, and other animal deaths were reported in other countries such as Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Honduras, Mexico, Nicaragua, Panama, Peru, and the United States. And then let's see, in 2019, so later than the one video that we were all talking about earlier, a video recorded by Mundo Ovini shows results of a supposed attack on chickens in a part of Lares, Puerto Rico. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce the area of Puerto Rico that it was in. So, but with the 1995 version of chupacabra, Benjamin Radford documented in his 2011 book Tracking the Chupacabra that the description that Madeline Tolentino gave on chupacabra came from, or was based on, the creature still in the 1995 science fiction horror film Species. The alien creature is nearly identical to her chupacabra's account, and she had seen the movie right before her report. It was a creature that looked like the chupacabra with spines on its back and all. The resemblance to the chupacabra was really impressive, she reported. Radford revealed that Tolentino believed that the creatures and the events she saw in Species were actually happening in reality in Puerto Rico at the time, and therefore he concluded that the most important chupacabra description cannot be trusted. So we have one version of chupacabra that is linked with actual canines that have mange, and then we have this other version that is linked to someone who went and saw a movie and thought the movie was real life. Now, that's not to say that we didn't have some kind of creature attacking the livestock back then, and that she didn't see something. But, what are we gonna do? That being said, chupacabra, I don't care. Forever a favorite of mine, forever will be. Just, for me, I love him to death. Did he swim to Mexico from Puerto Rico? It's possible. It's very possible. He also could have gone from Mexico to Puerto Rico and then back again. Maybe he lost his spines along the way. S tier for sure. Yeah, see, that's how I feel. He's one of the goats. Yes. Chupacabra, the goat sucker, is a goat. You gotta be able to have, the captions for that so you can see when I say goat, the little dots in between and everything in caps. This one I found interesting that you included. And And I find it interesting that you included this one, Star, because while the creature itself is based solely in a fictional book and is a fictional character, it may be based on a very real piece of lore, and it is the Hound of Baskervilles. So we all know that this is a story of Sherlock Holmes, right? It's one of the most popular Sherlock Holmes stories out there. I think it was like maybe the top third out of all of the stories. And it's super cool because it... Am I giving anybody spoilers? Like, has everybody read the original Sherlock, or at least, like, know the original Arthur Conan Doyle's books? Like, so... but I lost what I was saying with this. But anyways, I don't want to give any spoilers, but it's one of the most popular ones because it's one of the ones where it's the first story after Sherlock comes back. So there you go. I'm just going to leave it at that. The Hounds of Baskerville was one of your first encounters. See, that's really cool. We all have a first, and for me, I can't necessarily remember my first. It was probably Bigfoot. But that's really cool that you have that. But so this hound, it's located in Dartmoor, Devon, and UK. It is described as a fearsome, diabolical hound of supernatural origin with an enormous coal-black hound, but not such a hound as immortal eyes have ever seen. So, I love that. We know that that is a fictional character, right? But what is it based on? Homeboy had to have inspiration for something. So, let's see. The author's idea came from the legend of Squire Richard Cabell of Brook Hall in in Devon. I'm not going to try and pronounce all of these long words. Anyways, in which the fundamental inspiration for the Baskerville tale of a hellish hound, and which that was the inspiration. I'm trying to read my writing, and I'm excited, you guys. But anyways, and I lost my place. It was the fictional, or it was the fundamental inspiration for the Hound and the Cursed Country Squire. And let's see, it says Cabell lived for hunting and was what in those days was described as a monstrously evil man. He gained his reputation, among other things, for immortality and having sold his soul to the devil. There was also a rumor that he had murdered his wife, and on July 5th, 1677, he died and was buried. The night of his interment saw a phantom pack of hounds come baying across the moor to howl at his tomb. From that night on, he could be found leading the phantom pack across the moor, usually on the anniversary of his death. If the pack were not out hunting, they would be found ranging around his grave, howling and shrieking. To try to lay the soul to rest, villagers built a large building on top of the tomb, and to be doubly sure, a huge slab was placed over the top. So, that is interesting. And Devon's folklore in the area includes a dog known as the Yeath Hound, and that Doyle may have heard of this piece of folklore and based it on there as well. So, interesting. It reminds you of the werewolf due to an American Werewolf in London with the Moors. Yeah, I can see that. Where do we put our old houndies at? Because again, I like this one because you guys know I'm a nerd. Much like how I have multiple copies of Alice in Wonderland, I have multiple copies of all of the Sherlock Holmes adventures. While I did not name Basil, he is actually named after Basil Rathbone, the actor who played Sherlock Holmes. So, I would say I'm a nerd, and I like the history with this one. So I'm going to at least say, but I think I'm going to put this one firmly in the A. And it's only not an S one because the base creature that we are talking about is a literary creature, but it is based on real stuff. So the next one that we have is the Michigan Dogman. And again, having just done Pettigrew and researching Dogmen, it is cool to see this one pop up on the list. And of course, it is based out of Michigan. We have the Dogman, who was originally witnessed in 1887. Dogmen are popping up more and more as like a shapeshifter version of like a werewolf kind of thing that I've noticed in my own research, when not only for Pettigrew but for other pieces that I have done regarding werewolves. But they are described as being 7 feet tall, blue-eyed or amber-eyed, bipedal canine-like creatures with the torso of a man and a fearsome howl that sounds like a human scream. Could that... Alright. Could it not just be a dude ripping his shirt off for whatever reason and yelling at the moon? The 7 foot tall thing would be a little bit more difficult. But just because I fear somehow that sounds like a human scream. Alright. According to legends, the Dogman appears in a 10-year cycle that falls on years ending in 7 and can be deterred by clapping loudly. It is said to have been stalking the area around the Manistee River since the days when the Odawa tribes lived there. The first alleged encounter of the Michigan Dogman occurred in 1887 in Wexford County when 2 lumberjacks saw a creature which they described as having a man's body and a dog's head. In 1937 in Paris, Michigan, Robert Fortney Robert was attacked by 5 wild dogs and said one of them, the 5, walked on 2 legs. Reports of similar creatures also came from Allegan County in the 1950s and in Manistee and Cross Village in 1967. Other sightings include a series of occurrences in Ottawa County, Grand Haven from 1993 to 1994, but that would throw off the cycle, right? Or are they just not always hunting, or can they be seen when they're not hunting? Most of these reports came from a man simply referred to as Ben. He claims to have seen the beast on 3 separate occasions. One such sighting was in December 1993, wherein he spotted the Dogman in his parents' driveway on Lakewood Drive. The creature was standing behind the car on its hind legs, only running off when Ben started screaming. Another separate account was from someone else in 1994 in the same area. This report was of a run-in which the reporter hit a large animal with his car, thinking it to be a deer. There was no corpse to be found, instead only gray fur within the grill of the car. And this beast is similar to the Wisconsin creature known as the Beast of Bray Road. Cycles are made to be broken. Yeah, and maybe he just got like a little extra hungry, you know? Like, all portion sizes have gone up since way back when, so why not theirs too? I feel like he's an S-class just because there seems to be like a nice pattern that you can depend on, you know. So we're just going to drop him up here. Also, too, like I said, with all of them, I want them all to be S. Dogs have no sense of time. Yeah. All right. So this next one is near and dear to my heart. This was actually one of the ones that I sent you started to do for me, and it is the Beast of Bladenborough. So, for starters, Mandela effect, right? I always thought it was Bladensboro. I could have told you that the way to spell this was Blandnsboro. I've always thought it was Bladensboro. And it's not. It's Bladenborough. But this one is, you would think, another canine cryptid, but it's not. This one is feline. With the first reportings of it, they described a creature that was sleek, black, and around 5 feet or 1.5 meters long. Another report of it said about 4.5 feet or 1.4 meters long, with a long, bushy tail resembling either a bear or a panther. And another person described it as small, and that there was actually 2 of them. And that they made a strange noise like a baby crying. So we have this kitty cat-like creature that was terrorizing Bladenborough. I'm laughing because I am inevitably going to say Bladensboro more than I mean to. And again, it's because I have spent my entire life thinking there was an S in the word. And there was not. Again, super embarrassing that it's just right up the road for me. But the Beast of Bladenborough was a creature that was said to roam around the area in the winter months of 1953 and 1954. According to witnesses and trackers, it was likely a wildcat species, but its identity was never confirmed. The first animal deaths that were related to this beast were reported on December 29th in 1953. Witnesses described the creature that was sleek, black, and around 5 feet long, which killed a dog in Clarkton, North Carolina, approximately 8 miles or 13 kilometers away from Bladenborough. On December 31st, 1953, 2 dogs belonging to a resident of Bladenborough were found dead with a significant amount of blood near their kennels. Their owner reported that the dogs were torn into ribbons and crushed. My dogs put up a good fight. There was blood all over the porch, big puddles of it, and there was a pool of saliva on the porch. It killed 1 dog at 10:30 and left it lying there. My dad wrapped the dog up in a blanket. That thing came back and got that dog, and nobody's seen the dog since. At 1:30 in the morning, it came back and killed the other dog and took it off. We found it 3 days later in a hedgerow. The top of one of the dog's heads was torn off and its body was crushed and wet like it had been in that thing's mouth. The other dog's lower jaw was torn off. And that was from Johnny Vouse. The following day, on January 1st, 1954, 2 more dogs were found dead at a Bladenborough farm, and on the 9th of January 2nd, 1954, a farmer reported that a dog of his had been killed. 2 more dogs were found on January 3rd, 1954, dead, and an autopsy was performed on one of the dogs. They have a special name for it. It just said autopsy on this, but there is a special name for autopsies on animals. But it was reported that there weren't more than 2 or 3 drops of blood in him, and the victim's bottom lip had been broken open and his jawbone smashed back. Further deaths were reported on subsequent days, and on the 9th of January 5th, 1954, a pet rabbit was found cleanly decapitated and still warm, and on January 7th, a dead dog was found in pasture near the Bladenborough swamp, and a goat was also reported to have died with its head flattened. So, we have a whole bunch of mostly dog deaths, which is interesting since it's supposedly a cat-like creature that they were fighting like cats and dogs. I'm sorry, you guys. This is a very traumatic thing, and I would have been, scared to death had I been alive at this point in time and hearing about this. But I have to throw in a joke. But on the night of January 3rd, the police chief, Roy Forbes, searched for the creature with his dogs, but they reportedly would not follow the trail. A half dozen brave youths and their dogs then spent January 4th searching for the creature, while that night, Forbes and 8 to 10 other officers conducted their own hunt. Hunters who traveled to Blanesboro from Wilmington also searched for the beast that evening, reportedly tracking it for 3 miles or 4.8 kilometers around the swamp. On the night of January 5th, more than 500 people and dogs hunted through the woods and swamps for this creature. On January 6th, more than 800 people turned out to hunt for the beast in the swamps. Forrest planned to tie up dogs as a bait to lure the creature out, but this plan did not get put into action. The hunt itself was also ended by officials due to safety concerns. On January 7th, another 800 to 1,000 people gathered to hunt the creature. During the evening of the 8th, 4 fraternity brothers from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, were the only reported hunters. Mayor Fussell officially called off the hunt unless the creature made another obvious kill or there was a legitimate sighting. On January 13th, Luther Davis, a local farmer, found a bobcat struggling with a steel trap in Big Swamp 4 miles or 6.4 kilometers from the city and shot it in the head. Woodrow Fussell, the mayor of Blanesboro, told the newspaper that the beast of Blanesboro had been found and killed. However, it had been questioned whether such a small cat could have killed and mangled the dogs. On the same day, Bruce Souls from Tabor City was leaving Blanesboro when he hit a cat with his vehicle. According to reports, it was spotted like a leopard, about 20 to 24 inches long or 50 to 60 centimeters high, and weighed between 75 to 90 pounds or 35 and 40 kilograms. He took the cat home with him to Tabor City. Yet a third man, professional hunter and guide, Barry Lewis, is in quotes where it says professional hunter and guide. Barry Lewis is credited in some newspapers as having killed the animal. There are conflicting reports as to whether it was Davis's or Lewis's cat that Mayor Fussell photographed and sent out to the press. Lewis was reported to have hunted a different part of Blaine County where he shot and killed his bobcat. And then we have the final possibility of what it could be. A.R. Statton, a man from Lumberton, North Carolina, thought that the beast of Blanesboro was a German Shepherd and Hound mix named Big Boy that he gave to a Native American boy who lived along the edge of Big Swamp. Big Boy was dark and had a long, bushy tail. Stanton claimed that Big Boy was capable of leaping over a 6-foot or 1.8 meter fence and killed chickens from time to time. Lumberton veteran N.G. Baird said that it was very feasible that Big Boy was responsible for the attacks, and also said it was possible for Big Boy or another dog to have killed the other dogs and lapped up the blood rather than sucking it. So we have a couple possibilities of what it could be, and this is like one of those things that it's never like really popped back up. We don't have constant sightings or anything like that. It's kind of a one and done. But it's interesting because it could be just about anything. We do have bears in the area. I want to say there were panthers in the area, if I'm not mistaken. We also have things like alligators and shit, too. So, what could it be? Just about anything. But I do like it. And it is one of my favorites. And, like I said, it is just right up the road from where I am. So for me, local lore is always going to be S tier. But you guys can tell me what you think. I just find this one really interesting. And if I'm not mistaken, it goes like right into, yeah. This one, and then the next one is another one from North Carolina. That I find interesting. That does have a little bit more lore to it. And it makes you sometimes, it makes you wonder if they are similar or, could be the same creature. All right, I'm going to rank this. He's going to be an S tier for right now. But we're going to move on to the next one. All right, cool. All right, but our next one is the Wampus Cat. And this one, was this on my list? Or I can't remember if this was on my list or if it was one that you picked out, Star. I have it marked as being one on. No, it's one I had thought about putting on my list. That's right. All right, it's in parentheses because I had thought about putting this one on my list because I do love it. And I have mentioned it recently because, again, it was another one that popped up while I was just doing my research for Pettigrew. But a Wampus Cat is a Cherokee legend from the Appalachian Mountains. The Wampus Cat is a Cherokee legend. And it is described as a fearsome hybrid of a mountain lion and a woman. And believers say the Wampus Cat roams the wilderness, emanating eerie sounds that strike terror into the hearts who come across its path. She is a mountain lion and a woman. Some say that it has a bobcat's face, often portrayed as a cross between a cat and a human, with sharp, elongated claws and fangs. Its most distinctive feature is its glowing yellow eyes that supposedly pierce through the darkness of the night as it roams the Appalachian Mountains. Eyewitnesses have reported seeing a creature with a muscular feline body covered in a dark matted fur, accompanied by a long, sinuous tail that aids in its balance and agility. Some accounts assert that the creature has 6 legs and is more of a half-cat, half-dog hybrid. Sightings of the creature have been sporadic, typically occurring deep within dense forest or in remote areas. Witnesses describe feelings of unease and an overwhelming sense of being watched when encountering the creature. The Wampus Cat allegedly has several supernatural abilities, one of its most notable being its ability to emit spine-chilling screams. These vocalizations are believed to be a method of attracting prey or warding off potential threats. The half-cat creature is also thought to possess exponential speed, agility, and stealth, allowing it to navigate the densest forest and remain undetected. Legend suggests that it can shapeshift or become invisible, making it even more challenging to track or capture. These extraordinary abilities have both fascinated and frightened those who have delved into the beast mythology. Just be forewarned, the word booger is about to come up. So, Cherokee folklore offers a few perspectives on the Wampus Cat. One legend tells of Running Deer, a Cherokee woman who wanted to take down the evil spirits, I think it's Iha, known as the Spirit of Madness. Running Deer wanted revenge, for she believed the spirit was responsible for driving her husband, Standing Bear, to madness. Equipped with a booger mask and a spirit of a mountain cat, she surprised and defeated the spirit, becoming the tribe's spirit talker and home protector. Some believe that Running Deer's spirit resides within the Wampus Cat, guarding the Cherokee lands against dark forces hidden in the depths of the Tennessee. So that was one legend. The legend that I had heard and that I have in my books is this particular one. And it was from a woman who she thought her husband was being unfaithful. And so she followed him out on a hunt, and beneath a pelt of a mountain lion, she spied on the elder magic that was being done, and since she wasn't allowed to do that, they transformed her into the Wampus Cat. So we have a few different names for the Wampus Cat, from Gallywampus to Whistling Wampus, and it is rumored that it appears at twilight or dawn, and In Appalachian folklore, the mythical beast is often portrayed as a cat-like embodiment of a woman who's been cursed for punishment for her disobedience or involvement in witchcraft. Other interpretations suggest that the concept of the Wampus Cat was influenced by European mythology, specifically the idea of witches or women with shape-shifting abilities. These influences may have merged with local Appalachian folklore over time. Some historical accounts also lend weight to the existence of the Wampus Cat. The Greenville Sun reported on December 17, 1918, a Wampus is reportedly roaming the Big Ridge in the vicinity of Gethamine? I don't know. I can't even pronounce words from my own state. The newspaper went on to say that the sightings and rumors of the Wampus Cat have persisted for generations, further fueling intrigue and tall tales surrounding the beast. Years later, the creature made headlines again when it was blamed for a string of livestock deaths. Newspapers reported that the elusive monster had consumed dogs, pigs, and other animals in the Norfolk area. They speculated that the Wampus may belong to a species long believed to be extinct. While the papers of yore published a few reports of the Wampus Cat killing livestock, there's still no tangible proof of the cryptid's existence. So, that one, yeah, I like it because, big kitty. But also just interesting because of, the Cherokee Lord is just always really interesting to me. I wish I had more of it, but it is surprisingly hard to come by around here. What do you guys think? Well, you guys are all you guys are all just listening in right now. What do you think, Evil? Where do you think a Wampus Cat here goes? So like I said, my problem is I want to put them, you want S tier? Okay, Jade. Like I said, I want them all S tier. So, I love my big animals. Oh my gosh, okay. So the next one is a Nightcrawler. And I do have my little Fresno Nightcrawler right here, which, so, the Nightcrawlers, they have no hands. They are all pants. However, with me, I sometimes shorten this cute little guy's name to No Pants, even though he's all pants. Because he has no hands and he is all pants, but I just end up saying that he is No Pants. And anyways, he's one of my little favorite. Aliens or cryptid, I don't really know. With this one, I asked Star, I told Star, I'm not really sure how we would classify him, but I think most people think that these guys are aliens. I don't know. I think they're wonderful. And I'm so happy that I have a squishy one. But our next one is the Fresno Nightcrawler, or just Nightcrawler as I call him. And these little guys, I gotta put this down. Well, now he can sit right here and I can hold him. Nightcrawlers appear to be relatively short creatures, approximately 1.5 meters, with most of their height being made up of their legs, as they pose an extremely small upper body. And yes, I'm making him walk. It is hard to find details on the upper body of the cryptid due to the poor quality of the known footage. It is an extremely thin white humanoid with no arms. And there is a larger version of the specimen who appears to have webbing connecting from each knee to the torso. And let's see. They're very short, thin, and stilt-like. And then there is a similar creature known as the camel area creature that is tall and gray with presumably no arms and long muscular legs. It's bipedal and it walks in an odd manner with its backward bending knees, and it resembles the Fresno Nightcrawler. It is so cute. He's so fun. I'm like, he got little hearts on his feet. Like, how can you not just love this little guy, right? So for him, this is another one that again, was on the Fact or Fake Paranormal Files, and that's how I got my first introduction to this little guy. But the first sighting of a Fresno nightcrawler happened in Fresno, California, by a man named Jose. Jose had a surveillance camera watching his front lawn and looked at the camera when he heard a dog barking. After being woke up by his barking dogs, Jose observed the night crawlers on his front lawn through CCTV. He woke his brother up to rewatch the footage. Afterwards, his brother claimed to have seen small footprints outside, but by the time investigators made it to the site, all evidence was washed away. After the initial sighting, the original CCTV footage was lost. The only remaining footage is a grainy video recorded from a monitor. They do look kind of silly. They literally look like a pair of pants. Just started walking all around. And I do know that, it is easy to essentially fake, something like this, in that sense of you could have a pair of pants and, put your arms down in the legs. We've all seen those videos. Or you can have, you can just edit out the top half of a person and everything. But yeah, no, I think they're adorable. They're fun. No idea what they are. Like I said, some people think that they're aliens. Some people think that they're cryptids. I think they're cute. Especially this little guy. And also, too, I know it's not the same, but it reminds me of the cartoon character. I forget what his name was, but he would always pick up bugs and be like, I love him, and hug him and call him George. He kind of looks like him, but that guy had arms. He has no arms. But again, even though he's no arms and all pants, I call him no pants. All right, so as I sit here holding my stuffy, how would you guys rank this guy? I feel like with this one, I'm going to put him in an A ranking, not because he's not wonderful and adorable and deserving of an S ranking, but just because I feel like not everybody can be an S ranking, so I want to fill out the brackets. And also, too, he might technically be an alien, so if he's an alien, I feel like that doesn't quite count. I don't want to get into the next spot because my next one's like Bigfoot, Yeti, and Skunk Ape, and they're all kind of together, and I talk a lot. So, I'm going to pull up the questions that you guys sent me instead, and we're going to go over those. Star, you asked, apart from Nessie, who is the best sea serpent cryptid? I have to think. Because I'll say, sea serpent and lake monster. Because Nessie, I think, is technically a lake monster. But let's see. Here we have Normie for Lake Norman in North Carolina. We also have water-based cryptid. Okay, that's what I figured. Let's see. We have Ogopogo, which was another one I was going to send in, and then you added him to the list, so I was happy about that. And the reason I didn't put Ogopogo on there specifically was I wasn't quite sure how to spell Ogopogo. It's really easy to spell, but it's like one of those things. It's like there's probably like a hidden letter in there or something like that, and there wasn't. That's exactly how it sounds. But we also have, is it Champy? Who's another one? I like all of the lake monster ones. What I I never played that, so I don't. I know it's Final Fantasy, but I never played it, so I don't really know what would give you bad memories. Let's see, but also too. Speaking of the sea, the Kraken. Is the Kraken real or is he not real? And I say this because I know there are like a lot of deep sea creatures that we have discovered in like recent years. So, Ogopogo was a boss near the end of the game of the final dungeon. So you work your party. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Well, this one is just like a sea serpent. So, he's not really anything to... Yeah, see, that's what I was thinking. Like, we do have giant squid. We do know for a fact we have giant squid. So, yeah. But yes, the Kraken is right up there with it. And Release the Kraken is one of my favorite songs. It's Ninja Sex Party. It's a really fun song. Oh, he was a sea serpent in that. Okay. But yeah. I like my monsters big. I don't know why. I guess if I was going to go smaller and still like sea creature, definitely would be cool if mermaids were real. I mean, I know that we have manatees, but like real mermaids, that would be cool. See, you agree? Yep. What is my favorite non-American cryptid? That was a toughie. Let's see. Because I think, like, honestly, Nessie's right up there. But it's just because I grew up hearing about, the Loch Ness Monster. These are good questions. So, like I said, I grew up hearing most about the Loch Ness Monster, mostly because I grew up watching, all of the shows and stuff like that where they talked about like the lore of things like that and ghost hunting and everything. So that and Yeti, both of those, like, the big ones, or I feel like the ones that every American knows of, are probably up there with my favorite ones. Because there was definitely a couple of these that I had not heard of before. Let's see. Trying to think specifically if there's like one that I can be like, yes, this is one that might be maybe a little bit more obscure. I'm trying to think. Because I'm sure there's something like there has to be. Oh, I'm better than this, or maybe I'm not. I don't know. But yeah, no, not really sure. Because I can't think of... Oh, I do like the kelpies, which are the water ones. Or, to go back to the previous one. I think, though... Sorry. I have distracted myself because I'm also trying to think in general. But I feel like all the ones that I've heard most about that are non-American are like I said, like the Yeti and Nessie. I know there's others, and I am just fucking brain farting on them. I honestly can't think of any more. My brain is just, that's it. That's just all there are. And I know there's more. I mean, shit. I could probably pull up at least one or two of those books that are behind me, and I would find more. Anyways. So yeah, I'm going to save the rest of these guys for next time. Anyway, so I hope you guys have a good one, and I will be back next Friday, 4 to 6. I'm going to do the second half of this, and I hope you guys have a good night too.